Okay, so I'm here with
Susan Pryke,
Heather Cooper.
Michael Andrew.
and you lived in Heel Green in
1950. We moved from Roslyn Road to Outwood Road.
okay,
1950, when I was 2.
you were 2.
Born 1943
Mm-hmm.
and then lived in
Roslyn Road.
Roslyn Road up to the age of about 6, was I?
Well, you're 3
7.
years younger, so it'd been 4.
He's 5 years older than me. So 5, 7. He was 7 when he came to
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
244.
Yeah, okay. So your parents' jobs?
My mother was a secretary to a clothing company in Manchester, and she got married in 34. Oh gosh, how old would she be? About 20.
22.
20. She got married in 34. She was born in 1912.
Oh, right.
Okay. Now Dad's job, you told me, had the
He was
bakers on London
yes.
Road.
He used to work in the science labs at Stockport Tech, but his father, who was had an apprenticeship for a pharmacy, he, out of the blue, suddenly decided he was going to buy some shops, and he bought 3 bakeries and told his 2 sons that their role and duty was to go with him. My uncle lasted only a few weeks and said, "Over to you, bro," and left. So it was Dad, but it took Dad about first year to sell 2 of them because none of them was really making any money at all, rather in a loss. So they kept the one in Manchester, which is 94, 96 London Road, very close to Manchester, the Piccadilly station. And he retired. When did you go in with Dad?
But with me, me and Mike went in, didn't we? And then I left and you... how old were you? I was...
How was I when?
When you took over the business.
I'd probably be in my early 30s, wasn't I, when Dad completely retired.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
So when my granddad had this idea of having bakery businesses, he had to learn quickly, the 2 brothers, because we're opening on Monday. So my granddad, he was actually manager of Boots store in Edgeley in Stockport. So he must have got fed up with that and decided to go into business. So they had these 3 businesses and decided they could make more money just having one because they hadn't got the organising skills, had no training at all.
Right.
So my granddad worked in the business for a while, but my granddad, he rather liked wearing a suit in the bakery rather than a pinny.
Right.
And in the end, I think my father got fed up with him because he was had strict times when food went from the bakery into the shop, and it was to the minute. He would give a nod, and there'd be a queue outside the shop with people wanting lunch, and they're waiting for his command or nod. So I think it got a bit annoying for my father. And my granddad, at the age of 43, he retired.
He did.
Yes.
Quite an early age.
But he
a lot might think it'd be lovely, but at that age.
But didn't we used to
he was also a very anxious person, Grandad, and he had some shock, I think some attempted burglary at the shop, and that's what sent him into retirement.
Yeah.
But didn't we all have to go down at the weekend from being quite small, to brushing and cleaning walls every weekend and making sure everything, there was no, when they're not,
you
not
had a choice. You went to Sunday school, and if you didn't want to, you went to the shop.
we had to do
Because
both.
on a Sunday, you had to get the ovens going and to put the potatoes in a machine which peeled them, but then you had to eye them. And so that was a children's job, ready for the machine to put them in little, so they were in cubes for the meat and potato pies.
Right.
They were brilliant.
So, so that was that. So, Dad worked at the shop, or was retired only a few years before he died, and his dad lived to well into his 80s,
Right.
and Dad had 4 children. Grandad was on his own in his little bungalow in Lytham Road until they realised that wasn't very sensible, and so Dad.
There were coke-fired ovens in those days,
Wow.
Yes, he had
so
to
you had to go
buy-
in on Sunday and keep the fire
Yes.
burning.
And then he carried very heavy sacks of flour down the cellar. Like,
Yeah, there were Hessian sacks in those days, £280 of flour in a sack,
Yeah.
and you used to put that on your back.
And carry it.
But my dad did, not me, that was his era
Oh.
there.
Gosh.
The only plus thing with that was that the flour inside the sack soon adjusted to the shape of your back and your spine, which enabled you to carry it.
Wow.
And then later on for women, they introduced the £70 bags there.
Gosh.
And that particular time, I think potatoes had to come in £5 bags at the supermarket in the shops. Otherwise, they would be too heavy if they were £10, and yet the ladies were expected to carry £70 bags of sacks.
Because for a lot of the time, they had not foremen, but 4 lady, who were in charge of the bakery, didn't they? Yeah. The women who worked in the bakery. There was
Yes,
one who used to come in earliest. And
she did, Annie.
Annie, yes.
Good old Annie.
Annie, Nelsie and Betty.
Yeah.
oh, bless him. And what the little cleaning lady
Mm.
with the big...
But they were
Boris.
there decades, the people who worked there.
Yes.
But they would come in about 6 o'clock, wouldn't they? Dad
Earlier
used to
than
get
that,
up
yeah.
at 4, and Mike got up at 4
Oh, I
a.m.
grafted.
Till you
Right.
retired, didn't you?
Yeah,
When you
knuckles to
took
the
the
bone,
business.
knuckles to the bone. And when during the summer holidays, we used to go off to Morfanevin in Wales,
Yeah.
and my father used to come in the van to see us, and then spend just a short time with us, and then drive all the way back. So that'd be like 120, 240 miles on a Sunday.
Wow.
It'd be quite a treat, you know.
So he had a van to get to work then?
Yes. And that's a
They had
very...
a
We
blue
used to sit
van,
on boxes at the back, didn't we?
And I was laughing with friends about the health and safety of our day, because Dad he was good at woodwork, and he made little stools for us to sit in at the back of the
and
van.
toys.
So, he used to move.
We had to be quiet.
Yes.
There was no risk assessment in those
No,
days.
of course
no.
not.
No.
Health and safety, no.
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 Well, and with our 4 children, we had an imp, and all 4 were in the back. No safety belts or anything.
Well, we survived though, didn't we?
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
were more careful,
Mm.
perhaps.
Correct.
Yeah.
But you could go with the baby on your lap in the front of the car, whereas,
Talking of babies, in the village, when they built the shops, me and my little friend, between us was the age of 5 and 8, used to call for dogs to go for a walk. And a couple of the ladies who had babies would say, would we like to take the baby as well? So we'd take the baby and the poodle, Peppy, and with Broom as the dog. We'd get a lollipop or something after that. We had to be back by lunchtime with the babies. One always had a dirty face and a broken pram. We used to fall out. We'd be about 5 or 6, walking dogs and babies.
Babies. Gosh.
Yeah, that's how life was then.
Mm.
When
That's
I
the
was
oldest.
When I was 12, I was in the church choir in Hugh Green.
At St
And-
Catherine's.
Yes.
St
Yes.
Catherine's.
And so I was 12, and there was brothers, David 13, Paul 14, and we spent one summer holiday in a canoe. Their parents bought them a canoe. My father took us to Congleton, and for the 6 weeks holiday we canoed from Congleton to the Thames,
Oh,
and then canoed back and arrived on a Friday, which was lucky because we were back at school on the Monday.
What did
My
Mum say?
mother, my mother said, "You can go for that trip, son, but you must phone every Friday. But don't phone between 6:45 and 7 because of the archers." It had to be at 20 to 7 or 5 past.
right.
So we made the phone call, just before or just after. And my mother's first words were, "We must be brief, son, because these reverse charges are expensive."
And she's not
So
seen you
I
all
was
week.
asked 2 questions. One question was, "Are you wearing clean underwear?" Most important. And the other was, "Are you eating properly?" So there was yes, yes, and then it was a case of, "Right, son, we must go now. Phone next Friday." End of.
Yeah. Can you imagine that today? Later on?
So how many parents would let a 12-year-old son go away
It
for
was
6
fun,
weeks
wasn't
holiday?
it? Freedom. We had freedom as children. And it's the same world, but it's just changed with technology.
How are we doing?
So let's talk about your toys then.
Toys?
Toys that you can think of.
Oh gosh. Oh, I was very poor. I didn't know.
So
I
was
had
allowed
a
them.
Muffin,
Make any?
Muffin the Mule
Muffin the Mule.
puppet. I remember. I got it for my birthday, and my dad's father, Grandad, kept coming round, and I was enjoying playing with it. And then I don't know whether it was Mike or Heather wanted to play with it, and my granddad ordered me to give it to them.
Not to me.
Well,
That was yours. No, I've never had a Muffin the Mule.
no, it was mine. But you would be about 2 or 3, and Mike would be about 11.
I just remember we had a pair of slippers, and I was so excited. Moorland slippers, and I was so excited what colour they were going to be. Were they going to be the pink ones or the blue ones? And then we got tangerines and in
in a sack.
So that's Christmas.
In a case.
nuts. I was
No,
so excited
orange
about those
and
slippers.
Orange.
A tangerine.
I could smell the tangerines because you only have them at Christmas.
time.
But now we've got them all the time. It's not as fun, is it, for the
No.
kids to remember Christmas?
So
So
you
it's about
used
greed,
to
too
have
much
a
greed going on.
present amongst all that, didn't you?
Say this again.
You used to have a present amongst all that.
I did.
Whatever you were getting for your birthday or for Christmas.
Remember, what did I remember? I had one teddy bear, didn't I? That's it. I don't know what else we had after that. We didn't get a lot of presents, did we?
No.
We got nuts and tangerine, and Grandad bought very expensive slippers. So that was that.
Okay. About playing out.
Oh,
I can tell you lots about
in
that.
Roslyn
Morning till
Road.
night.
Yes.
In Roslyn Road, we used to sit on the curb, and there was a child in the road called, no, what was he called? Reggie Warren. And he was hysterical. He used to have us in fits of laughter, and they were all lined up, having a whale of a time. And we were allowed the freedom of the whole of Roslyn Road, because there weren't many cars there at all, and Mother would shout us from one end of the road to the other, calling our names one after the other, and told to come in. Do you
Good
remember
call.
that?
Well, it was, the game was, you were all on one side of the road and you had to kick stone 1, 2, 3, kind of go across the Golden River or something.
Yes.
Or the railway lines was mine.
I had to
Neil Green.
play on the railway lines. That's on a par with me coming
The
to London,
naughty
isn't it?
boys, because my mother said don't come back till whatever time because the floor was going to be wet or something, and I'd be in the station and the boys were saying, I bet you dare to go across the railway line when the train's coming. Yes, I can do that. And I used to get myself in all sorts of
Gosh.
trouble when I was little.
Yes.
Yeah, in Heel Green Village.
Yeah.
And then there was the village gang there with the boys and the girls. But I used to play in that field all the time, climbing
Opposite.
trees, riding on this big stump of tree. Me and my friend Leslie, we used to climb on there and pretend we were native Indians and lose ourselves, eat the hedgerows, the little buds that we called them bread and butter. So the new buds on the hawthorn hedge, we used to eat those. We used to eat some of the grasses. And we still survive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Freedom.
I think it was St Anne's. Was it St Anne's Road?
Auntie Lucy's.
You know, we lived in Grandad's house because Grandad died in the June. I'd had my first child in the 1st of August, and Dad inherited Grandad's bungalow. So yes, he suggested we should live there, and so we lived there and had 4 children there before we moved to 108 Brown Lane on the corner of that road with all the trees on the opposite side of the road. And at the end of that road, if you walked across Finney Lane, you'd be on St Anne's Road. And Dad's sister lived at the end of it. And we had to go round there after we'd been to Sunday school, so we had to go across the fields there and meet up there.
So will you remember Cheadle Royal being a huge estate, really,
Yes,
on that side?
yes.
Yeah, on the right hand side going
Yeah,
down.
and yes, there was one bomb somewhere during the war. I don't think many people were injured or anything, but something happened during the war. Because in Roslyn Road, we had a shelter in the garden, and when we heard the sirens, we all had to get out of bed and go into the shelter, and we Dad did bunk beds in there, and
Did
some
he? That's-
neighbours next door came in as well, and we'd stay there till we get the all clear. But that went on, throughout the war.
It was huge, wasn't the shelter? The concrete roof was like that, wasn't it?
It was.
Where was it? Where,
And when he came out of the back door at 20 Roslyn Road,
yeah.
and it was on the right.
Mm.
In the garden?
Yes,
Mm.
and you went down the steps
43. You were born in 48, were you?
after the war.
I was born in 48, yes, 1948.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't be involved in the shelter,
Oh
would you?
no,
It's
I was,
1948.
it was after the war when I was
No.
born.
Yeah,
No.
then we were born during the war
You were
with the
born during
ration,
the war.
with the ration books and everything, which went on for years.
Yes, yeah.
And
So what about schools then? Which schools did you all go to?
went to the one in East Avenue.
So Etchells.
Yes, went there till I was 9. You were 6.
We
And,
went to Alderley Edgeworth.
and
Yeah.
what happened? Our elder sister, Chris, she was in the top class at the school, Cheadle Etchells, and out of 50 children, 2 managed to go to Moseley Hall. Everybody else went to the secondary school.
Was that Broadway?
Yes, which was way below the national average, because there were 50 in a class. And
Well, they were at Withington. When I was at Withington, there were
But-
massive classes.
but Dad decided that something had to be done. It was his sister Lucy and daughter who guided Dad to be modern, and she suggested we all went to boarding school. Well, that didn't happen, but Chris did. She was sent to Petri Mar in Wales at the age of 11.
Denby.
I mean, it was amazing. She had so many clothes, day clothes and Sunday clothes and things, and she had a cape which I thought was magnificent. Why can't I have these? No, we couldn't. And I went to Ladybourne House School, which was in Cheadlehume down. It moved, didn't it, Ladybourne, but it was down Grange Road.
Right, because
Right
now
at
it's
the
on Schools Hill.
Yes, right down at the bottom of Grange Road. And on the main road there, they had the house where people boarded, and we had our meals there. We used to go for our lunch there. So I went from there 9 till 11, and then I went to Withington because we had a close association with Withington. So went there till I was 18, but and Mike went to Harden House School in Alderley. That's how he was at 6 going on a bus all the way, and they'd tell the conductor.
Mum went with him, didn't she? Mum went with you, didn't she?
She did just to
Well,
start.
she walked me to the Griffin at the age of 6
I'll put you
for a
on the
while.
bus.
Just for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to like it because the bus, it was what we call a shower bank.
Show
You
them.
know, you pull the door back, that was exciting. And I really wanted to press that red button for the, you know, stop the bus. And eventually it happened. I got a rank
Yeah.
ticking off, but I did it. So that was it. And it was from there 7 to the age of 13 in Alderley.
Yes. And then
And at school there, we had, after lunch, we did a 5-mile run every day. Right the way up through Alderley Edge to the top and round. And when we used to play other schools at football, they were kind of waiting for us, and they thought, well, it'll be easy this game. All the lads coming back now shattered after that run. But no, because we did it every day,
Fit.
we were super fit. So that's my tale.
and
And
then
my
you went
turn.
to North Kestrel
North Kestrel Grammar after that, yeah.
in
yeah.
Alderley. And Heather,
I went to the village school at Etchells.
did you go to Cheadle Etchells
Cheadle
or
Etchells.
the Prospect Vale?
No, you always say that. No, I went and with Leslie. I've got the photograph here.
Oh, right.
But then when we were in the first class, I went there till I was 8, and then I went to Withington.
Right.
And I had to learn to go through the village and walk to the bus stop for the 64 bus into Manchester when I was 8, on my first day of school. And I was told not to climb up the stairs but to ask the bus conductor to put me off at Moulderth Road, walk down there, turn right, and there was my school. So I saw this huge school from Cheadle Etchells. Where do I go? Which door do I go in? My sister was there, and apparently my sister was taken to school by Dad.
Yes.
He took you in the
Yeah.
car. Why did I go
Yeah.
on the bus?
I don't know.
Yeah, you smoked in the car.
When I was 8. Well, no, Dad did that, didn't he? He smoked
And you.
in the car. No, Dad smoked with us all in the car.
Swiftly moving on.
Moving on.
Yeah, so you were all spoiled.
Churches then, so you were at St Catherine's?
Yeah, St Catherine's Church there. I was also in the school choir as well.
Right.
Mm.
And
You had a nice voice.
yeah,
And did they have a
somewhere Channel Radio 4 or something in the archives there. There's me singing my heart out there.
So were you a scout or a cub or anything like
No,
that?
it was, I think, at Hill Green there, the church. I think choir practices was on one of those.
In the
The
little
only
hall.
couldn't go to the scouts or and that. Girl guys could have joined, but that was at a different night. But it was just the choir practices one of the nights which you couldn't
Right.
go to the scouts.
Oh.
I did the brownies and the guys with Captain. Now, what was she called? She lived in... What was she called? The
Oh, Kayla.
No. She lived near us, didn't she? She terrified me. So, I was a brownie and a guide, and I was confirmed at the church.
At St Catherine's?
And I married a guy who was confirmed with me, who, when we had the wine, we were, the two of us, he was here and I was there, taking the wine, and then the little bread, I took mine and he sneezed and it flew off. and our marriage didn't last very long. So the bread of life flew away.
So transports then. So your dad had a van.
Yes.
Did any of you ever go on the steam trains from
No.
Peel Green Station?
No, just the ordinary train, but it was
Yeah.
just steam. It was a steam train then. I loved it. Yeah, the sound of it.
Just to go to Piccadilly to go and work at the shop. But I went to Sunday school at St Catherine's, and then I used to go to church with Dad because Dad used to go every Sunday.
And we all did.
And
And you used to faint
I did,
every
but
Sunday.
that did. I was still not allowed not to go. So, but I gave up that at age 13, and I wanted to. I had friends in Gatley, and so I started going to the youth club in Gatley. You can see how fit we all were, because I also used to play tennis in Gatley with the whole group. Mum and Dad kept saying, "Why don't you do things in Heel Green?" No, because my friends were in Gatley, and I had to be home at a certain time. And if I missed the bus, I used to run from Gatley back home at 244 on a very regular basis.
And it's uphill.
So
We were all quite fit, weren't we?
Yeah.
Walking everywhere. And well, everybody was like that, really.
but Mum was terrible. You couldn't go until you'd had your meal, and you had your meal just before you were needed to go
Three
and catch the
courses.
bus, and you couldn't leave without eating it all. And then I'd run to the bus stop to get the bus to play tennis, then run back. But no, I never did any after school things, and there. But I did get married at St Cath's.
Okay. So talking about youth clubs, anybody do St Catherine's youth clubs?
Youth
The
clubs.
Mercury
Yes.
Club. Were you at the Mercury
Yeah,
Club
oh, well,
as well?
Yeah, near the wreck. You know where they used to play football.
Yes.
And then next to the church was the little hall, wasn't
Mhm.
it? Village hall.
Public hall, yeah.
And then they used to have the older girls had a sort of dancing and records on a Friday night or something like that. You had to be a certain age. Teenagers
Yes, yeah.
did that. I don't know whether they still do that there.
There's not been anything like that for a while now.
No,
No,
but that was
it's
really
not
good.
much. Yeah.
Because me and my friend Leslie, she had an older sister. We used to go and spy on the teenagers. No, once we thought they were coming out of the doors, we went and hid in the toilet. They all came in, and I was trying to climb out of the window with my friend. They were saying all sorts they were going to do to us if we didn't come out.
Gosh.
So we would be about 5 then.
So what years would they be then?
When we were 5 or 6, like that, so 48,
Right.
50, 54, 53, 1953.
Right, so what building would that be on? Because the public hall wasn't built there till 65.
It's a wooden building.
It was wooden before.
Yeah,
Right. Oh.
next to the church.
Mm.
Yeah.
But the connections to the church, Dad was a sidesman at the church for many years. And, you know, the Rose Fete, Chris and I used to be in the Rose Fete, and Dad's contribution was that he used to go into
Yeah, that's
Manchester to buy big freezers full of ice cream and give them to the church, and he'd be making ice creams, wafers and cornets from his big tub, but he did that. And when Dad died, he died on the 26th of June.
June,
And it was the Rose Fete
when going by.
going by at the time.
Yeah.
But he did that for many
He did.
years.
And he did this when I used to go to the little. It was on the wreck, wasn't it? Where we were in the. Did you used to dress up and go in the sort of procession?
Yes.
We used to do that, and he used to have the strawberries as well, all the strawberry
The
tarts.
strawberry tarts, yeah.
I thought it was all the strawberry tarts. I don't remember ice cream.
Oh yes,
That was-
Peroni's in
Yeah, so that was before because you
on
were
the outskirts of Manchester.
I was a lot younger then, so I remember the strawberry tarts he used to do every year.
That he used to make and then bring.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
So that was on the wreck, where the footballers go.
The thing about strawberry tarts in those days is that you just had local strawberries. You know, whereas today you probably get started in Kent and end up with Scottish
Yes.
strawberries.
Yeah.
But they didn't use it in those days, move around. So at the shop, there was like a 2-week window for strawberry tarts, and you just queue round the block.
Yes.
The
Come
buses-
round again, you know, it's a 2-week, and that's it. If you don't get them now, you missed it for another 12 months.
Wow.
Do you remember, Mike, at the shop, the double-decker buses used to come outside, and the driver of the double-decker bus used to come in and queue for
Yeah,
his
quite a
place.
few just stop and come in and
I'd be
patients looking what else.
We'd be
Patients,
put-
customers,
We were making sandwiches.
passages.
We were making sandwiches, putting the butter on, and then you have to take it off so you don't use too much butter.
Yeah.
And then you look out of the window, and there's all these people on the bus looking at you, and the guys in the shop, the driver,
You've been
waiting
walking
for
back
his
and you say to
sandwiches.
pound yourself to get back in. Yeah.
When they look back.
Yeah. Just going
And Dad
back.
was very strict as well.
Just going back to the van, of course, there were 4 children, Mum and Dad. And my dad was interested, was keen that we all went to church and tried different
Yes.
churches. So we used to go to places like
Nether Alderley.
Henbury Church, Nether Alderley, Alderley Church. So there'd be
Hot
4
Shrigley.
children, Mum and Dad, that's 6, plus another half dozen kids on the lane where we lived. So that some of the places we went to, there were more of us as visitors
Yes.
than the locals there, particularly like at Henbury, which is just a matter of a few farms in that area.
Yeah.
And of course, all the farmers' children would be at the front, we'd be at the back, and they're all giving us evil eye. Really, where have you come? It's like 15 people came in. Yes.
Stair bearers, you know, you'd watch you coming in.
Yeah.
And it was Berkel's. Do you remember Berkel's
Berkel's
church?
as
Yes.
With the eagle at the pulpit. And then after that, we'd have sandwiches in the car, and we'd walk up Bosley Cloud every Sunday, didn't we?
Well,
Walk
not
up
every
and
Sunday.
have
because
sandwiches.
yeah.
Well, we did do that.
Did we?
walk.
Oh, I must have looked.
You've probably been in the pub when you were 7.
When we went to Bosley Cloud.
I'll get my own back.
Yeah, it's really high up there, and I wanted one of those miniature cows that you can see from the top there. And my father couldn't convince me that those were real size ones, but because you were up here,
It's high.
I wasn't having any of that from my dad.
Oh dear, it's fun.
So let's have a think about the shops in the village then.
Oh,
Now, I-
halfway up from Heel Green, there was a shoe repairer,
The
the
fen
cobblers,
shops. They're called the fen shops, 3 of them.
and there was a butcher's, and I thought it was a greengrocer's. Heather doesn't think so. That was on that block.
I was just...
But we used to be running by the side of the pram to get to the shops and buy the stuff and go back again.
I don't know what fen means, but they were called the fen shops.
It's fent.
Fent.
It's offcuts.
Oh,
it means
offcuts.
offcuts of
It's the
material.
fen. Yeah, they were the fence shops, weren't they? We used to walk there to get bones for Peppy and Broomer's when we were 5 or 6, with the baby and the
Right.
dogs. And then we used to take them back the bones with the dogs
Yeah,
and
for
put deck
butchers.
chairs in Dad's garage and make like a place where all the dogs went, like they were on holiday, with the bone. And the babies were smiling, so that's fine.
So you remember the big chimney at Cheadle Royal there?
Yes.
The laundry.
Yeah.
Chimney.
Yes. So, and then there were shops on Winslow Road.
Here, yeah.
Yes, at the bottom.
So if you lived on Roslyn, were you shopping local at this
No,
end?
Heel
Yes.
Green.
yeah, there's just one
Across
shop,
the road.
Heel
to,
Green.
Good to hear.
there was a shop that sold.
Long Lane.
Yeah, sold all sorts of different things, and you go across with your coupons, and we used to get bread from there, and
Where was this?
we used to love the crust
Yeah.
and start nibbling at the thing, and Mum
In the village.
threatened to send us
No,
back
Long
with
Lane.
it because she wanted
Yeah,
it.
Yeah,
But
near
that
the
wasn't
Griffin,
damaged.
across the road from
So
the
that was the
Oh.
shops on Winslow Road you're
Yes.
talking about?
Oh, no, I
There's
didn't
one
know those.
right opposite the Griffin, and then further along on the same side of the Griffin, they built several shops.
I
there.
don't remember any of that.
Um,
No.
and then they started building them on Finney Lane, near opposite 244, and then
Not opposite 244, not for a long time.
1961 was
Yeah.
the first set.
Yeah,
Where
So
Met
that-
Martin Main to Peter Hurd is 61.
yes.
And the next set was 63.
That's right, and this is what's in here, because all that was fields with the stream, and that's where my life was, playing
Right.
just all day there.
Mm-hmm.
And
because we went across the fields to go to Grandad's at Lytham Road.
Yeah.
He had a television, we didn't.
it was very
and
dark, wasn't it?
It was a tiny little one, about 12-inch.
The screen wasn't that big.
And he would switch it off if he thought it was unsuitable.
He made nice cups of tea, didn't he? Very, very hot, Grandad, but no lights on.
Mm,
And that was the first time we'd seen television, really. But all my friends all had them.
yeah,
We thought it was bad for our education.
we never had one when
That's
when
when
I
you get
was
up to
at home.
mischief, though, then, if you don't.
Just two channels, weren't they?
Yeah.
First of all, just BBC, and then ITV came in. So we used to argue over which channel to watch. You go round at a set time, but you have to go really early because it took him 10 minutes to turn the TV on when you arrived.
So it'd
He
be more
was in-
radio then, wouldn't it, I suppose? The Archers.
Yes, the Archers.
But he could, Grandad could squat down like an Indian, you know.
Maybe he
would-
was one in another
he would,
life.
he would be in front of the television twiddling all the
Yeah.
knobs or stoking the fire or whatever.
Yeah, that's what you can do when you retire at 43.
Yes.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And then he died when he was about 86.
Did he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Was he 86?
he lived longer than
Dad?
Dad
How old
Yeah.
was
or
Dad then?
Lucy or Bill.
No,
Yeah.
not got a good lifespan, have we, this lot?
Dad's side, no.
I think
So
I
tell
would-
me all about the fields then, where the shops
I'm going
were.
to leave you. Do you want, I've done two lots because my grandchildren, I've had them reading them,
Right.
and then I'm getting mixed up because one likes one and one likes the other. But I can leave you them to.
Yeah, they are
fantastic.
interesting, those. I mean, it's not
Yes.
having to give her a pat on the back, but they should have done well with those.
You see what I have to put up with? You used to try and shoot me. That's another thing with your air rifle.
I
And I
wasn't,
used
I
to
wasn't a
throw
good
worms
shot,
at
was
you.
I?
You terrified me. Right, this is it. This is. I'll give you this one then, because this is a newer one. That was the one I wrote in the middle of the night, because I just thought I'll write. Once I start writing, I can't stop. So there's that. So
Right,
I'll give you that.
fantastic, thank
That's
you.
one.
Super.
And then we've just got pictures here.
Fantastic.
That's actually one of G. Letchell's,
Oh yes.
the primary school where Mum used to.
Fabulous.
So look, it's very dark. But it was a happy little school, really.
Well,
I'm at the
it
back on the
wasn't-
top
it wasn't
row
that
on-
little. We used
On
to
the
have
right hand side.
We used to have the children from
I
the
look a bit-
children's home.
I was shocked because I do look a bit of a mischief there, like a bit of a
Bless
roughy
you.
tub. Roughy
Wow. So what year's that then? Age 5.
I would be 5 when I went there.
So
yeah.
what year's that then?
So I was born in
40.
48.
So 53.
53.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the Bishop of Chester with me on his knee.
Ah.
Mercer.
Mm-hmm.
He was, yeah. No, Mercer was the vic. Oh no.
No, he was at St Catherine's way before he became bishop.
That's a house that Dad built with proper glass windows. That was called the
Gnome's Corner.
Gnome's Corner, yeah.
But at when we were at Roslyn Road, Dad built a little train track starting where you get on and then go down the slope. So it was a bit like being on a
Big Dipper.
yes,
I've got it in storage, that little thing with a hand. It's got a brake on, hasn't it?
yes, a lever, and we've got quite a few photos of us as children going down. We used to have friends from down the road used to come to play in the garden. We had nasturtiums round the pear tree at the bottom of the garden, and Mum always used to say there are fairies at the bottom of our garden.
Nice.
If it were not so, I
probably
wouldn't
were.
have told you so. But Dad was quite good with that. But my granddad and his wife, we've all got some love letters between the two of them. She was a nurse and he worked in the pharmacy. But her parents didn't want her having anything to do with him. She was from Northern Ireland, and they did get married. And she died when she was 28.
Wow.
And I've got information about. It was in an unmarked grave, but we went over to Tim.
I put some flowers on it.
She died though. She needed an operation. It cost her £100, did it not? And they couldn't raise the money. That's the reason why Grandma died.
Well, the story was brain tumours and, cancer and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I
Take your
would
pick.
guess, I wouldn't be at all surprised whether it was childbirth and she went over pregnant with
Because she had
her
one after another.
fourth child.
Gosh.
And so Grandad was blamed. He wasn't allowed to visit her, and
The old days.
or any
He did.
funeral or anything. And he had a room of 4 Rhythm Road
Mum.
full of her stuff. And when I was clearing out for Mum, I got the shock of my life because there was this dress. I said, Mum, look what I found. She said, oh, that dress. That was his mother's wedding dress. And it was made by a designer in Larne in Northern Ireland. And I phoned them up and said, I'd got this, what would they like me to do? And the museum there said, if it's in perfect condition,
It was as well.
then we'll exhibit it. But if it's not, are you happy that it goes round for school circulations where they lend stuff of that era? So it's a separate bodice and skirt, but it's got the designer's name all in it.
How beautiful.
So I've got a nice letter amongst all these things from the museum thanking me very much for
Wow.
allowing them to have it. But I thought, what on earth do I do with it? Because Mum kept everything, plastic bags, carefully folded, paper bags, and there's photographs and letters, drawers full of them, for when she died. So there was quite a lot of clearing, but some things I wasn't allowed to do, but other things I was.
So should we talk about this beautiful house that you all lived in then?
Yes.
How it came about to be built in the first place?
Well, I think Roslyn Road was 2.5 bedrooms really, and Chris and I shared a room, and Mike had the little bedroom, and then when Heather came she was in a little crib in Mum and Dad's room, and so they needed more space. And because he went to St Catherine's, I'm sure he saw the plot for sale, and we used to walk across it to go to the church. And I'm sure his sister guided him about.
So there was nothing there, was it just a field?
It was just a grassed area that we used to walk across.
And look at it.
It's a shortcut really, which
Yes.
is where the two Queensway and Outwood Road met.
Yes.
There was just this land here.
And the big oak tree.
Yeah. Yes, the big oak tree there.
So,
It's all been beautifully planned. I mean, that garden's just lovely, isn't it?
yes.
Yes.
And it was still like that when you left,
Yes.
because of course I can only see this bit from the
Yes.
front.
Yeah.
I
It's
didn't even realise
lovely.
it was that shape.
It was lovely, yeah. It was lovely. You'd look out of the window.
So you've all played in the Wendy house then?
Oh, yes.
Yes. And an apple tree that's
Not me. Uncool. Totally uncool to play in there.
So fruit trees,
yes.
rustic screen with gates. Sounds
Yes.
lovely, doesn't it?
It was
But
amazing.
it was all well planned. I don't know whether they got a design from a magazine.
Yes, from
Or
Ideal
something.
Home.
Oh, I think so, wasn't it?
It was
That's
Ideal
This has
Home.
been planned by some nurseries in Bramall then, hasn't it?
Right.
It was good, Dad, wasn't it, to do that? It was a surprise for Mum, and she said, "Well, what have you done that for? I quite like the little house."
Yeah.
Changes in a changing world, as Dad used to say, as my mum.
And then that.
And then, yes,
Wow.
There you go.
So how many bedrooms was it then?
4.
So you could have one each then?
And you've got
Heath,
little fires on
this
the
is
wall.
our bedroom, Heath. That was Mum and
Little
Dad.
wash basins in the rooms, weren't there?
They were in
And a fire on the walls.
yes, they took the fires off the walls.
Oh, because you've been in, haven't you?
Yeah, they weren't there.
And they took your pantry out, you said?
Yes.
Oh, and Mum with her sugar bags after the war. Dad used to laugh his head off. She had got that many bags of Tate and Lyle on the top shelf. We had 3-course meals every night. She booked on the Arga.
So the Arga that you've seen, that wasn't the original
No,
then, you were
it
saying?
was the one that was
Anthracite, you had to
yeah,
fill
it was converted to gas.
when Dad was dying because he didn't want Mum to have to do all that.
No.
No,
with all
but
the smoke
it
coming
was
off.
there. It was there. It changed when before I left home, I think, because
No, it wasn't changed. It was changed when Dad was poorly and with cancer, and Dad said to me he didn't want Mum having to reach upon the high shelves, but also to have to riddle the you had to take the middle out, riddle it, and take all the cinders out. So he didn't want to do that. So it was when electric Argas came in.
no, it's a gas one.
Gas.
It was gas.
244, the second gas was gas.
The second organ was gas.
Oh right, well, that's when I didn't know that. Obviously, Dad told me he was getting an electric Arga for Mum.
No, they were gas. And you can run one radiator
No,
off it,
you
which
can't.
they were thinking of doing
Yes.
in the dining room.
Yeah, but I've never heard of a gas Arga.
Yes.
Yeah. And to load it, I say you had to lift the lid up, and then there's a circular
Yeah.
disc in the centre. You pull that
Anthracite.
up, and then you pour the coke in, and then
Anthracite.
there's a little door at the bottom, and you riddled it, and all the ashes came out, and then you put the hot ashes in the bin. That was good.
So
But
he said he
it
wanted
was a
it
hard
changed.
job there. It was a hard
Yeah.
labour of
It
love.
was lovely.
But that's like 70 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah, but Mum did lots of things that would, took a long time. She had an old service washing machine there, which I think we'd had in Roslyn Road, and she had it and got electrocuted once and landed
It threw her across the room.
across the kitchen floor. And that also happened with a little electric
Stove.
stove she had.
Because
Because the trouble with Argas, they're so hot that in summer it can be unbearable. And so she had this little electric one.
It was great as kids, they are. Becoming really cold, you just need to lift those lids up and
Yes.
blast the hot air. You'd have to not kick the dog, but get rid of the dog, because the dog loved used to lying in front of the Arga there. And you close the kitchen door, there was a rack down, so it was brilliant. Wash your shirt, put it up, dry very, very quickly.
Because everybody had racks in those days. And Mum would iron tea towels, dishcloths, underpants.
My mum still does.
Yeah,
And
well,
do you know,
her mum was in service throughout her childhood, and so she was taught by her mum what to do.
Yeah, my mum does socks,
Yes,
knickers.
Oh, God.
yes.
Do you know what she used to do as well? She'd lift the lid on the Argo and she used to have two little irons. So both the irons went onto the hot part of the Argo where you put your pans with hot. So the two, and then she'd take one pan and use that, and then that would go back and she'd take the other hot one, and she used to spit on it to see if it was hot enough.
Yes.
Good heavens.
That's what they did, didn't they?
Yes.
If it rolled off, that was it. That's fine.
And Dad cleaned the Argo once a year.
I used to like polishing
Dad
it.
was very meticulous. He got every mark off it.
Sorry, Lizzie, throwing it around.
Mum wasn't as house proud as he was.
It's lovely though.
But-
I used to clean the Argo as well.
But-
It's a shiny.
Yeah, but Dad did it almost with a toothbrush.
Yeah.
He got it so clean.
So tell me about that fireplace, that photograph.
The fireplace in the lounge.
Yes.
That was lovely. I mean, I did recognise the little 4-inch square tiles there, but they didn't mean anything as a child, of course, there. But it was nice to have the open fire, and then we got bricks either side to make it a smaller fire, probably because we had central heating then, didn't we?
Oh.
The old big bore, so you didn't really need that full size of.
It was perfect really how he did it, because all the little fires in the bedrooms.
There's a French
And then-
window there, wasn't there? But we never opened that up, did we? Had the
No, because a radiogram was there in front of it.
in front of it, yeah, that blocks it. Yes.
Then we had the piano and
Yeah.
Mum doing ding 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 ding
My mother used to
play
clean the lounge on a Saturday morning,
and play the piano.
and then she used to play the piano. Get away, kids! Ding, 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 ding.
And
But,
what's
but it was Ida, her sister, who was the musician,
oh, Mum
and
was
she
good.
used to play rags.
Well, she had a musical family, wasn't she? Because
Yes.
All of them were.
all the and Uncle
Ah.
Harry played banjo, did he, or something like
I
that?
don't know.
They were very poor, but she said they were poor, but they were very happy.
But they used to have
And
jamming.
a brother came
Yeah.
back from the war bringing clogs for the children that got no shoes across the street. And she said he was a very handsome man. He came back, he'd had an injury.
But in those days, the most important person, apart from the father, was a son. And her mum would go walk miles to get some special cheese for Harry when he was home, because he was in the forces during the war. And so my mum thought the world of Harry, didn't she?
He was
They
handsome.
went and
Had
lived
wavy hair.
in Disley. Harry and his wife lived in Disley.
Mm.
They were very proud in those, isn't it? They used to say about the suit, and all the men had suits. They might be shiny there, and the shoes were always polished, but they might have cardboarding and the sole
Or
was
holes
getting
in
thin there.
It's a different
People took a
world.
pride
It's
in how
interesting.
they appeared. No cut jeans
No, God.
and a suit jacket and cut jeans. None of that.
No.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How
Mm. Oh,
that's why I wrote this really, because I thought how strange that life that we had, or I had, and the freedom.
We'll see into today.
and Thursday was always bake day, wasn't she? On a Thursday she used to make bread and cakes on that day. And also they used to have a knocker-upper, I think they call it, bloke on a stick when they're banging on the windows.
And
Okay.
the gas lighter, because they were all gas lamps, weren't they, that they had.
We must be very old. We mustn't be knowing all this. This youngster across there looking at me.
But
She's only still a baby.
we learnt a lot by working at the shop, because behind the shop there was a row of terraces, and the little children would sit on the doorstep with jam butties and chip butties, and we used to chat to them. And Dad was very good with all his customers. In fact, Dad could be very sarcastic, couldn't he? And the shop would be jam-packed. And a lot of the customers were machinists. And they would chatter at the counter,
He had no patience.
waiting for the things. So Dad would ignore them. And someone in
Choose them at the
overalls
back.
at the back, he'd say, gentleman at the back, yes you, what can I do for you? And he would say,
No, the ladies would get angry, and I'd
Yes.
keep buttering the bread, quick.
and they'd say, hey, I don't know how you cope with your dad. But you know, he was very fond of it. We had a sign writer and we had the machinist.
Across the road,
Yeah.
it's right by the station.
And people who worked at the station. But Dad used to go to the mills and deliver pies and things there. That was his, he did that very...
He was shoes all around that area, all the mills there.
Yes, and the machinists all the way
In
up
the war
Outwood
years,
Road.
he delivered 2 babies, didn't he?
Who did?
Dad,
What do you mean?
because they didn't get there on
He
time.
didn't deliver pies, he delivered babies. Well,
He delivered 2 babies.
I don't know
I'll
that
stay with the
story.
pies, I think.
Well, that's what that mother told me.
Yeah.
So what's the story of the evacuees then?
Well, I think during the war, the government wanted people who had accommodation to take in evacuees from the cities, and Mum responded, and not many people in the road did, but Mum had them for quite a number of years.
At Roslyn Road?
Yes, before she had Chris.
And after as well, because didn't the lady
No,
next door
It was
shut
Ronan-
her curtains and she had to take them
May and
out.
Ronnie didn't.
May and Ron, they wouldn't take the children, would they?
No, so they'd
So my
close their
mother took
curtains.
them and she got a letter off the Queen.
I've got it somewhere. I don't know if it's in this folder or in one in the drawer at home.
Wow.
Hmm.
It's
Yes.
like a thank you.
Yes, to people who had evacuees, yes.
We don't want any more wars, do we?
No.
But if you're interested in Roslyn Road, I'll get a file together for Roslyn Road.
Yeah, absolutely, anything.
Father's car is a Jaguar and Pa drives rather fast. Castles, farms and country barns all go charging past. Arthur's cart is far less smart and won't go half as far, but I'd sooner ride in Arthur's cart than my papa's fast car.